This one is geared towards new users of HMDs or people that may have been a bit since they've used them in the past. Particularly, this is perfect for the Apple Vision Pro launch tomorrow. If you're hearing this after the fact and you're sitting on your brand new equipment, congratulations. To those that are also looking for VR, AR, XR, and general headsets, congratulations. Okay, so the biggest things to remember is right off the first millisecond of picking up a headset, you are bombarded with 60,000 different kinds of accessories that people in their kindness they try to give you advice for, but every single person is a little different, unique. And this goes all the way down on the Vision Pro, for example. The very straps you use may be comfortable for you versus somebody else based on the type of hairstyles you have, based on the size of your head even. There's many different things at play here. So my best advice to you is less is more on the accessories. Only get what you need. Focus down prescriptions if you need them. Focus down things that already come with the equipment. Test it out. See which version of the strap you like better, if it's the Vision Pro or if it's another kind of headset. Be sure to actually try it out and adjust it. Actually adjust the cinches, adjust the technology. Particularly on the Vision Pro, you have the single knit loop where you can adjust on the sides, the back of it, so you can tighten it up. Remember, it's supposed to sit further up on your head. And on the dual loop, be sure to adjust the top strap and see kind of where you stand once you click that together. Other VR headsets also have cinches, usually on the back center of the VR headset, particularly if you're talking about the Vive Index kind of lineage. And the Quest also has adjustments. So if we're talking about the Quest 3. So with that all out of the way, I have some general advice that I really hope you stuck around for. And in particular, this applies to when you're not using the headset. So when you're done using the headset for the night, you take it off. No matter how dry it feels, there is some sweat, there is some wear and tear on there. It needs to breathe. The worst thing you can possibly do is go and put it inside a case. And I know everybody wants to sell you a case, or some people are lucky it comes with one. That's the last thing you want to do. You want to put this equipment on a stand. You don't want it sitting around where it can get damaged, or an animal, pet could chew on it or something, or a friend could sit on it or whatever. You want it to be sitting on a stand where it can breathe a little bit, but also be protected. I'm pretty partial to human head shape stands. I have glass ones. I'm also going to put, if I can find it, a photo of an IKEA one that somebody put up on the Apple Vision Pro subreddit Discord. It's actually a pretty nice one. I think it was like 40 USD, at least when we're talking about North America. And it was mainly designed for like a sleeping type design, and it lights up. It's not glass. I prefer the glass because it's easy to clean. I don't know about this other material. I can't comment on that. But it's a very affordable stand, and it looks, like it would work. I know it's a little out there. I know it's a little strange to say, but the system is designed to be on a human head. And so a stand that is a human head does not put unnatural pressure points on the bands. If you go and you put the bands onto like a 3D printed piece that's like just a T shape or something, what can happen is the straps have like indentations that can literally form over time. Because remember, it may be sitting on there for weeks or even months between usages. If you get busy with work or school or whatever, you go to pick it back up, and it's not exactly perfect anymore. You have these natural stress points that are putting extra pressure onto the adjustable straps, and the straps are designed to have give, so they don't hurt your head, basically. So keep that in the back of your mind, that stands are better than cases. If you only have a case, or if you're looking at this video and you're just going, what the heck? I just bought a nice case. I got this beautiful case, or it came with a case. Why can't I just use that? You can use it. Once again, stands are best. But a case, if you leave it open, so I would leave it like opened up with the lid open, will breathe okay. And you may want to adjust if it has like internal dividers that can move and such. Try to avoid having them all shoved inside. One of the big mistakes I see a lot of people do is they take a VR headset, they shove it inside a case, they take the cordage and wrapping it around and then shoving it inside the center. So all that stuff shoved in the middle means it can't breathe. And when it's on a stand, it's not that big of a deal because you have natural ventilation that like is all pointed the correct way up, and it's a neutral surface, I'll call it, where it's not really going to have that issue of getting soggy with salt and everything and sweat. And I'm not going to try getting a little in the weeds here, but you can take a towel and just wipe it down between uses, and you can keep them nice and clean. Very simple clean. You can even use some. I like Windex without the ammonia in it, so ammonia-free Windex makes it really nice. Okay, so if we're going to go do some dig and let it dry off fully, and if you want to be even safer, there is just use damp rag with just water on it. If you want to be even safer, because remember you're putting this on your head. So with all that out of the way, and not actually using it on your headset. I'm talking about on the stand, letting it fully dry, and then using a dry cloth and wiping it, and then using the stand. Occasionally, like once a month, I clean them off. So, with all that out of the way, you have your nice brand new piece of equipment sitting on a stand. You're feeling great. Life is good. What else do you have to consider? Keep the accessories near it and keep them charged. In the case of the Apple Vision Pro, for the most part, your accessories are going to be your battery that it came with. If you bought a Magic Trackpad wireless, or if you bought a wireless keyboard, be sure that's charged up and nearby, so actually use it. If you have all this stuff laying around in different places, you're not going to use the equipment. Especially if that's something you find in your workflow while you're using the piece of equipment. Like, let's say you follow my advice from the beginning, less is more in accessories, but then you discover, hey, for my needs, for work, school, for home recreation, whatever, I'm finding that I need to be able to type extremely fast. I need a keyboard. And so if you do have that keyboard and it's very important to you, be sure it's charged up. For VR, AR, XR, it's more about the controllers, making sure they're charged up right nearby, or a actual controller. And this also applies to the Apple Vision Pro, where it has a PS4 or 5 controller that's on the list that it suggests. We'll see how that actually looks and how gaming looks on the Vision Pro. But anyway, if you have these accessories, be sure to charge them up, and also consider your audio. If you have external audio solutions like earpods, AirPods, etc., be sure they're charged up and good to go. Wireless is a double-edged sword. Having less wires is really useful for a lot of these technologies. I can even think of VR headsets even up to about 2 years ago. People were pushing the idea of having a wireless microphone that can attach to the side of the headset, custom size, just to be used with headsets. So you could have professional audio recording. Well, I'm going to use air quotes there, but really good audio recording. But that created one more place where you would run into a problem of, I got to charge yet another thing. 5 trackers, same problem. You have to charge yet another thing. And you may run into a problem where you need to think about how many actual chargers do you have? How many USB ports do you have to work with to charge all these different things if you're working off of a computer or a Mac? So bear that all in mind. Plan out your play space, plan out your workspace, and think through this process. If you're going to operate off of your couch in your living room, well, you're going to need a table there for a stand and all your accessories, and you're going to want just a simple power strip that's near a plug, and you want it so it's not extremely short, where you just go to put on all this gear and you pull the cable a little too hard and everything falls off the table. This is expensive equipment. This is electronics equipment, and it tends to be more mobile than other kinds of PC or Mac setups, unless you're talking about like a laptop or something. Most of the time, this stuff is going to be relatively stationary, and so are you. So, especially for the Vision Pro, and to a lesser extent the other systems, I want to note that if you haven't already been in this experience, you need to keep in mind that in a lot of cases, your eyes are not tricked. Your mind is tricked, but your eyes are staring at screens that are a definable distance away. There's only so much trickery that you can do to them. And you tend not to blink as much, at least I don't, under these XR, VR, AR, and now spatial computing experiences. And because you have a defined amount of brightness that generally is the same amount, and it's pretty bright, but it's not hurting your eyes bright, but it is bright, and you have this element of not blinking because it's an unnatural environment in there, and also you have the element of inside the headset. There's only so much moisture because you have these warming up screens, and you only have so much breathing going on inside those cup spaces. Think of it like your headset when you're wearing it, but for your eyes. So if you haven't been in this experience, just know that it's kind of this weird situation where it kind of has some humidity, but not like an insane amount unless you're really sweating it up. And what you end up having is the situation where your eyes can dry out. So be sure to remind yourself to blink every now and then. Um, Create little tricks for yourself where you remember to focus, go out of your way to focus to the left and the right with your eyes. And if you can, try to take breaks every now and then and physically move the headset up onto your forehead. And that's a whole nother, I'm going to go into that in a minute, but move it up to your forehead, look, physically look across a room, and that'll give your eyes an ability to naturally focus further away. It'll allow them to get a little less stressed out, and just do that for 20-30 seconds, and then put the headset back down. And you do this all in one fluid motion across the skin, because a lot of HMDs have a detection system that can detect you took the headset off. So if you take the headset off, you can kind of throw yourself into like a pause menu, or even worse, you can lose tracking, especially when you get into more complicated trackings like full body and a few other interesting controller setups and such. And what ends up happening is you don't want to do this too long, but you can slide it up to your forehead so it keeps the detection of like as if it's on your face, and then you can bump it back down. You don't want to do it too long, because if you're once again worked up a sweat, you worked up some energy on your forehead, you can basically fog out the lenses. So it's kind of a time game here. You're trying to help out your eyes, and doing that exercise about once an hour is advisable. And if your system is amenable to it, taking the entire headset off for a few minutes is a good idea. Do not, do not, for your own sake. I mean, you do your own, you spending the money, but I highly advise you not to put the headset like on your shoulder. I've seen this a couple times online, and every time it is such a bad idea, where people will take their arm and put it through one of the sides of the strap, and they will kind of like run the the headset up the side of their arm and onto their shoulder so it's hanging off of it, and then they just kind of do their thing. um I don't know where this started from. I hope it never happens, because and I suspect that it's not that popular, because the first time somebody does this and then it falls down the arm too fast and then it hits the floor, I think they realize that why that is such a bad idea. Not just that, but jostling around the hardware in places where it's not designed to take the stress, and the supporting the whole system jangling around, it's just bad situation all around for you. Um, like I talked about, you don't want to put the thing away hot into a case and then zip up the case if you absolutely can avoid it. The only real benefit to this, aside from obviously transportation and a bit more protection, if like you're in this environment where it could be knocked off of a table or something like that, which I don't recommend, but is the fact that you don't have to worry about direct sunlight hitting the lenses, which is a huge no no with any kind of HMD. The lenses can magnify the light coming in. The sun can slowly destroy the lenses. You don't want them in direct sunlight when being stored or in any really circumstance. I understand for mobility needs, you might need to. And this is an obvious thing, but on the Vision Pro and other systems, HMDs that have the ability to go outside even slightly, if you happen to find yourself in drizzle or something like that, be sure to wipe down the system, get out of the rain or other types of precipitation as quick as possible. Don't trust that a hat or a hood will protect it. You can have driven rains and snows and other things that will go straight in to the system. And this, because of the way the systems work, even if they don't have active fans, you can have a kind of heat induction going on where it's hotter on one side, colder on the other. So if you do have some very fine precipitation, it can kind of get sucked in, for lack of a better term. It's not a huge effect, but it can do irreparable damage. So be sure to be mindful of that. A lot of these systems, if not all, are not weatherized in any way, unless you're looking at those huge industrial commercial systems that some companies try to advertise. But even the nicest ones, if you have consumer off the shelf, it's a really bad idea to go outside with them in the pouring rain. And like I said, mitigation measures really don't work. So, in general, you want to not keep it in a case while you're doing things. After you do things, try to find yourself a stand. Stands can be had for extremely cheap. Like I said, you'll see the pictures of the glass heads. There's other ones from IKEA that do work well, or you can just use a normal stand, although they do have some stress points. We went through some of the issues with your own self where you have the sweat and such, and you also have eye distance and focused issues. And my final piece of advice is to try to show people the system in the right way. So when you first get a new HMD, particularly if it's your first one, friends and family will want to try it out and have like a 30-second elevator speech to walk through what it's like. I think one of the problems for adoption of these systems, at whatever is your flavor that you're into, um, is that other people have a bad experience the first time they try it and they don't come back. So if you take a system that's extremely set up just for you, it has prescription lenses just for you, it has the strap cinched down just in a certain way just for you, and you're playing your favorite games on it, and that's the only thing's loaded for it on Steam VR or on the Quest system or on the Apple Vision Pro app systems off the App Store, what you're going to find is that that's not very general. It's not a very good general thing. So I highly recommend having one or two games that or apps that you can really show and just be like, this is why I'm into this. This is why I enjoy this. And if you don't, I'm not trying to be mean, but I mean, don't bother showing them that if you're just going to show them some hyper specialized thing. A good example of this I have is a buddy of mine told me a story about how he's into Worth Under simulator mode. And so he uses his VR headset for War Thunder, his index headset. And he told me his brother came over, and his brother basically heard these amazing stories about how he can use a fighter jet and under VR. And he basically set him up in a test flight mode in the sim thing. As I understand, that's how he said it. And his brother proceeded to crash immediately because he was trying to use HOTAS system. So that's the sticks and throttle and everything and all that. And under a headset that he has no familiarity with whatsoever, in a fighter jet with no knowledge or expertise or learning in this thing. There's like so many different barriers that he put up for this to be a successful experience that it's basically I said to him, I'm like, I'm not trying to be mean, but it felt like you set yourself up for failure there. Like you set him up for failure. You're just messing with him. right? That's the only logical conclusion here. And he's like, I didn't really think of it that way. But it's the thought that counts, sure. But have a game that is that. I often recommend to friends the game Vacation Simulator, for example. If you have Steam VR, that is a amazing solution. And when I get the Vision OS, I'll be sure to find an app that is my version of Vacation Simulator for that. And the reason I use, I'll explain this. So, in case you're not into that game or you're in a different system and you're just saying, well, that's not helping me, Vacation Simulator, the reason it's so good is because it's very easy to understand and pick up. People have full control over the character the entire time. There's no specialized outside of the VR experience. There's no specialized knowledge or skills that you need to have, like flying a fighter jet and being able to flick different switches on a Mirage. Um, and more importantly, it is fun. It is exciting. It is interesting. It is very witty. There's different areas where you can journey around in a very short distance. So you can have a 20 or 30-minute session that you can kind of guide them around, and quickly they can get the gist of it. Another good one that I highly recommend, and I think I used it in the last video as an example for a couple different things, was Beat Saber. It's the classic. It is one of those that I always turn to, especially with people that are, especially adults that are, trying to see like, hey, I'm into exercising or I'm into keeping moving and such, and it's like, okay, Beat Saber. Whereas Vacation Simulators for everybody, and you can have a good seated experience in Vacation Simulator, and also if you're in a group, you don't have to feel like, oh, am I feeling foolish swinging my arms around in front of everybody and stuff. Whereas Vacation Simulator, you can have these experiences where you're painting with a virtual with a Bob Ross bot. You're painting paintings, or you can go try to take pictures of a Yeti up the side of a mountain, and it's not like it's going to attack you. It's just there for fun. Or you can go down to a beach and eat a hot dog and try to throw volleyballs into a net against something. So you can get into those more adventurous, fun type of sport competitive things, but you can also choose to have relaxed fun that's not going to be so much feeling like what is this social implications of this. So that's why I always recommend it. It's extremely accessible, and I should have led with that. So find yourself an accessible application that kind of allows you to show off this system, particularly mobile systems that you can take other places, and you intend to, or at least you may do once in a while. Apple Vision Pro is a classic example of that. As a bonus thought, I wanted to mention, just particularly for the ABP, keep in mind that most of the time, unless you're like a traveling business person and you know who you are, if you have like so many points, you can get free hotels everywhere and whatever. But if you're, for everybody else that isn't flying 24/7 and whatnot, uh, you're probably going to spend most of your time in the system basically in one or two rooms, and you're probably going to navigate wherever you live um, in those spaces. So try to plan out a single room that is relatively safe if you want to stand up and walk 5 or 10 feet, and think through how that space looks. So it, because this is a pass-through system and spatial computing is something new, we still have to find out how much of this is actually going to be it. But you may feel you may feel the wish to share your experiences with others. And if you're recording your experiences on a coffee table in front of you or something, be sure that the coffee table is relatively cleared off and, going to be easy for that experience to be good. And then not just for recording, but also because, plain and simple, a heavy amount of glass surfaces and other things makes LiDAR not work as well, makes other sensors act up, makes cameras not being able to tell depth as easily. Another thought is that different surfaces and lighting can have huge implications on how much they can detect your gestures. If you have a super bright light on your left side and no light on your right, and there's these these very heavy shadows, moving your hands around a precision point at a huge screen. Well, I'm using air quotes here, huge screen, but this large space in front of you may not work that well. So if you are having trouble, you take it out of the box, you charge it up, you're playing with it, and you're like, wow, this is nowhere near as good as what it was in the store or whatnot. You may be finding that your environment needs to change a little bit for it to work well. So that applies to the actual image in a way, because there's no such thing as a perfect light seal. So if you have an extremely bright source right near you, you're going to have kind of a halo effect around the edges. Particularly, I've always found this around my nose. I like to have at least some breathing right there anyway, so I'm okay with a tiny little bit of light penetration, but the light in general needs to be very narrow area there, or I start getting annoyed by it. And the light under control for gesture tech and stuff and shadows. You don't want too much harshness. Too much glass is usually a bad thing when it comes to LiDAR and things like that, where you're literally shooting a laser out to detect distances and try to figure out things. And that's important for virtual objects and virtual screens where you're plopping them down on somewhere. And you may find that it suddenly jumps up 2 or 3 feet because it thinks the LiDAR is bouncing all over the place and scattering, and it's not able to get a good reading. So if you are experiencing those issues, it could be that you're using a glass table, bad lighting, and the final thing that you may not think about until somebody drives by is noise. So because the system is not actually attaching to your head, into your ears or on your cupping your ears, it's an open spatial audio that's trying to simulate external noises, a lot like the Index that came before it a few years ago. You need to keep in mind that all the noises around you will be going in just as much as the noises that are powered from the device itself. From what we've heard, the speakers are good, need to test them, but the point is, you may want to be careful about where your play space is, where your workspace is with this system, because the audio is going to be very sensitive when you're trying to enjoy the movie you're watching or the experience you're doing or content creation, whatever you're doing with the system. You will find that you may have these problems of every single little car driving by is suddenly you can hear it, it can hear it. Every single thing you're doing is interrupted by the noises around you, maybe more than you're used to, particularly because a lot of people nowadays have earpods, and headsets on most of the time, which the system is not. There is a workaround by getting an AirPod system for this, but go into that another time. All right, so that's some thoughts I had. Once again, any new system you get is a huge win. If you listen to audio like this, I guarantee you've done the research and you're going to do fine. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please put them below. And for this one particularly, ideas for a future video. If this kind of caught your ear, but you're like, hey, I didn't really hear what I'd like to hear about, starting out in these type of setups and what would be pitfalls to look for about blank, or if more recommendations for games or for potential apps, let me know. I'll gladly talk you through it. Take care.